Hi, I'm Mike from Ram Clutches, and today we're going to talk a little bit about checking the travel on your hydraulic release bearing. So perhaps you've installed a Ram hydraulic bearing and you're having some problems getting the clutch to disengage, or you're unsure about what master cylinder you should use and what the travel is that master cylinder is going to provide. Doing this test and hanging the bearing basically under the car with it all connected to the master cylinder will allow you to actually measure that travel. Now, the master cylinder itself can affect that travel most definitely. It's also going to affect the pedal feel. If you want to learn a bit more about that, you can check out another video, link right here, that we're going to provide for you that will talk about master cylinder sizing and balancing the master cylinder and the length of the travel of the rod. So again, the best way to check the travel of the bearing is going to be to actually get it connected to the master cylinder in the car. If you've already done the whole install and you're having an issue, you can slide the transmission back and let the bearing hang. Otherwise, you can just go ahead and connect it up with the transmission out of the car. So basically, you're going to have the bearing hanging like this underneath the car at that point. So in order to do these measurements, the first thing we want to do is check the bearing with it completely compressed or completely retracted. So in order to do that, we're just going to take calipers and we're going to check that number. Sometimes this bearing piston will stick out a little bit from the back side, so it may not be flush. You're not really starting from zero there. So as I measure on this particular bearing, I can see that this is about 25 thousandths of protrusion here. So at this point, if you're doing this as a new installer, you're going to have to bleed this bearing to be able to check the travel. Now, if you're doing that when the clutch is in the car, every time that you press on the bearing, the clutch fingers are going to push that bearing back. Now, we don't have that luxury here since we're hanging it. So as we do that bleed, every time that we activate the pedal and the bearing pushes out, we're going to have to manually retract that bearing. So you're going to need a partner to help you with this, somebody that can be in the car and work in the pedal as you do that bleed, and also to do the actual travel check. So it is important that you have that full bleed to really know what travel you're getting. So again, simulating this, we've got the bearing bled, our partners in the car, they're going to press the pedal one full stroke. That's going to move the bearing out some set amount of travel. So once we have that, the bearing's static, we can go ahead once again and we'll come back and measure how far that piston actually moved. And in this case, we can see that that's 520 thousandths is now the new measurement. So if we take our initial measurement, 25 thousandths, subtract that from the 520, now we know that we have 495 thousandths of travel in the bearing, which is going to be more than enough to disengage pretty much any single or dual disc clutch. Now, if you're not getting enough travel, there's a couple of checks you need to make. The first is going to be, of course, to make sure that you do have a good full bleed on the bearing. That pedal should be solid top to bottom. If you're doing this with it in the car with the clutch in place, you want to make sure that you're getting that solid pedal all the way to the top. You can also check your master cylinder specifications. Again, 3/4 with a minimum of 1.1 travel. If you're trying to use a smaller master cylinder or something with a shorter stroke, you may not be getting that adequate travel that you're trying to get out of the bearing. As usual, if you have any questions, you feel free to contact us at ramtech@ramclutches.com. Also, just check the tech area and support on the website. There's a wealth of information there that can help you as well.